Salute to the whole boxing community, ladies and gentlemen. Rene Box Young going at you live with the series, as you can see down here in the banner, Boxing Then and Now, Part 5. Man, we're pushing with these series, man. We're pushing with the series. So, it's always an honor, and for me, it's amazing. I love having the guests who we have had on periodically, frequently in this series. My brothers, Kurtis Anderson, Reggie, Owens. We'll see if Stormy B pops up in a moment. We'll see if he can make it. Hopefully he could. I appreciate all the new subscribers, man, that have been subscribing. I really appreciate you all, and we even have subscribers who are gamers. Great stuff, man. Excuse me. Great stuff. And I really appreciate each and every one of you, for subscribing, tuning in, showing the love. We are one community. Remember, I always say that. I commonly say that we are one community. We all grow from one another. Excuse me. And people are already jumping in the building, man. I appreciate it. Definitely, man. So we got, Boxing Conversations, saluting the people, saluting the community. We all grow from each other. And that's why I love lives, man. It's so organic. We have some great bullet points today. We got some great bullet points. But first and foremost, let's see what's up with our brothers. Kurtis Anderson, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, Rene Box Young, Reggie Owens. What's going on, man? It's good to be on the stream again. Talk about some boxing, man. And hey, I'm ready to get started, man. We got a great show for you guys. And what's up, chat?
Definitely, man. Reggie Owens, how you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I can't wait to get through the bullets that we have for today. And like OG Kurt said, it's going to be a great show, and it's going to be a learning show for me.
Oh, heck yeah. These bullet points are great. Stormy B's in the building. He just popped in. That's what's up, man. What's going on, Stormy B? How you doing?
Oh, I'm great, man. How's it going? Salute to the other brothers, Reggie and Kurt and Rene. Hey, man, I got a quick funny story to tell about why I'm late. I'm sitting here waiting for the link, and my dumb butt didn't even read that the link was in the original email that you sent with the bullet points. So I'm like, oh, duh. So I feel like Homer Simpson right about now, but I'm here, bro. Thanks for having me.
Oh, don't even worry about it. Hey, actually, Stormy B, if you can pass me your digits after the show, as we usually when we close the show after backstage virtually, right? You can pass me your digits, and I can get in contact with you more efficiently in that manner, and I can send you bullet points there on your phone.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Perfect. People are already jumping in the building. Kenneth Johnson, what is good? Salute to you. Kenneth Johnson salutes the panel. Finally catching live. Oh, Kenneth, we got some great bullet points today. This is going to be great stuff, as always, right? Ogden Knight, 1801. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in, brother. Ogden, thank you so much for tuning in, man. We had a great time earlier on your live. I had fun in that one, man. That was amazing stuff right there, bro. Thank you so much. Hamza S. Salute, Rene Boxer. What's going on, man? Hamza S. Saluting everybody. People are popping in the building already, man. Good stuff, man. Ogden salutes the chat. Bruce Ghost. Salute, fam. Bruce, thank you so much, man. Oh, yeah, same thing happened to Reggie. It's all good, man. Don't even worry about it. We're good, man. It's all good. Thank you guys so much for joining. So we're going to get to it, man. First, let's do a little warm-up topic here. A warm-up. Just a warm-up topic before we get to the bullet points. I was going to try to do something in a moment. Just bear with me. Just a couple seconds, everybody. I want to show you guys something, all right? I want to show you something, okay? This is, okay, I hope you guys can see that. Go ahead, Stormy B. Can you see that on the screen? Can you see this in the screen?
Oh, we got donuts.
Yeah, there we go. Go ahead and take one. Go ahead and take.
that makes me feel a little bit better. With a donut, I get comfortable.
Reggie, go ahead and take one. Which one you want?
Oh, you mean out of this pick? I don't see no apple fritter up there. I don't see no apple fritter, man. Maybe that chocolate one or something.
Kurtis, I think Kurtis, you're low on the sugar, right?
No, I'll still treat myself. I'll take a regular glazed Krispy Kreme donut and be happy.
Heck yeah! There you go, man. That's in courtesy of Stormy B's petition some time ago. So there you go, man. There you go. So next time I'll have some for the chat. Heck yeah! All right. Let's get back to it. Here we go. Awesome, man. All right. So we're back to the normal screen, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
I'm just
Hey,
checking.
Renee, and one more thing about those virtual donuts.
Go ahead.
That's like virtual the calories too. So we like that, you know. That's OG.
Yeah. Oh man, I love the idea that he brought me, man, that a few weeks ago. That was awesome, man. All righty, man. So let's get right to it. Heck yeah. Let's get to a warm-up topic. All right, this is just a warm-up topic, just to, warm up the microphones, warm up our brains, get our brains going here. Good stuff. All right. So now, okay, this is quite disappointing to me. I just want to bring it out there and I want to hear your opinions on it. This is disappointing to me. We were anticipating a great fight, and we still are, between Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. It's disappointing to me to see. I mean, I can see it in both ways, obviously, but right now, this is Teofimo's open, amazing opportunity right now. Everything, he has the opportunity in the palms of his hands. Bob Arum just recently said, you know what? It looks he's not gonna. I mean, Bob Arum is not giving. He's not going to help even Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford said recently, I don't know when it was, but recently said, I'm not going to take any money cuts. I'm not going to take any paycheck cuts. I signed a contract with a certain amount of money, and I'm not going lower than that. Bob Arum is not. It seems like he's not going to pay even Bud Crawford what Bud is asking for. So I don't think he's going to even consider Teofimo Lopez. If I'm not mistaken, recently Bud announced that he's not going to really adjust to it, to what Teofimo wants. He wants more money, obviously. We're seeing it as a new trend nowadays. Even Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, lower weight division. He was he was ordered to fight El Gallo, man, Estrada, which would a rematch. Oh, that would have been a great fight. Also, he's asking for more. I understand Chocolatito has a way longer trajectory in the sport. Obviously, Chocolatito, man. But we're seeing this as a trend. Now Teofimo Lopez is asking for more. Now this is at a risk. Now we are at risk of not even seeing the fight. After Teofimo Lopez running, speaking so much about, I'm going to take Teofimo Lopez out, the takeover. And now this comes up. The opportunity comes now. And now he's like, oh, no, I want more money. I'm disappointed in this. We don't even know if the fight's going to happen now. But then again, recently, Teofimo said, you know what? This is negotiating, you idiots. Something along those lines, right? Yeah, you idiots or something. I don't know what he said, man. But he said something along the lines, hey, this is negotiating. Okay, but I don't know, dude. Kurtis, what do you think about all this, man?
Well, he came to his senses. I guess he was trying the oldest trick in the book. He was just trying to siphon more money out the fight, saying you never accept the first offer. That's what he went by, which was $1.2 million. So he's going to take the fight. A lightweight, never fought a high profile fight. If he wins, he knows he's going to get more money. He becomes the man. 1.2 million is a very good payday for a lightweight. He has 2 titles, I think 201 and 2 titles, and Lomachenko has 2 titles. So I guess he was what we call grandstanding. They're trying to get the fight done for October 3rd, and Lomachenko's getting 3.5 or 3.2, something like that. But the fight's going to go on. It's a matter of it's going to happen October 3rd or beyond. I'm tired of this fight. Get the fight done on October 3rd so we can see it. It's one of the most highly anticipated fights of the year because of COVID-19. Boxing just seems out of whack. I saw the first card last week on Showtime where Abner Mares is the new commentator. Don't forget, folks, we got a fight tonight on network TV, Jamal James versus Thomas Delorme at 8 o'clock Eastern time. They're going to announce the Earl Spence and Danny Garcia fight November 21st. So that's something to look forward to. Boxing's trying to find its way back. It's not in a good spot because, like you said, Rene, El Gallo, Estrada, who's a fantastic fighter, and Chocolatito, that's a wonderful fight. Because fighters want more money, they're asked to take a pay cut. You see Terence Crawford is holding steady, say, I signed for 3.5 a fight, and that's what I want. So it's kind of tough, man, right now. And don't get me wrong, the promoters have the money, but they want a return on their investment, and that's the fans being in the seat. So you, the fans, you play an important part in boxing.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Reggie, what's your take on all that?
Man, everything Kurt said, he hit it right on the head, and that was T.O. grandstanding. But it could have backfired on him in a major way, especially playing with somebody as tight as Bob Arum, especially Bob Arum. Bob Arum has a certain way with young fighters who come to him in this way, young fighters who think they're of higher value than what he's offering. What Bob Arum offered Teofimo was a great deal. It was more than enough. But for Teo that think he needed more, that can either open up issues between him and Bob Arum going into the kind of long run of their situation. But it was a negotiation tactic. I kind of felt that way, but I just think it was at the wrong time. It was at the wrong time to do it. Everything could have fell apart. And the thing Teal needs to think about is Bob Arum has things he has to look at as far as how he measures his books, because he can go in putting out money and come out at a loss going into these fights. Lomachenko is just the biggest name or the most sought after name in the division. He's not a huge draw. He's not he's not the lottery ticket like a Floyd Mayweather type situation. If Teo was fighting Lomachenko or something, and I mean, not Lomachenko, but a Floyd Mayweather, and they offer that money, yeah, he'll have a right of wanting to negotiate for more. But you're fighting Lomachenko, who's really not that huge of a monetary draw. He's not that huge of a crowd draw, but them two meshing up together is going to draw you can't even draw. I can't even say draw a crowd anymore, but it may draw attention to viewers for this fight as well. But he should have, the 1.2 was more than enough, especially I'm hearing it's 4 times more than he ever made. The kid is getting a little bit ahead of himself, like a lot of these young fighters. They're making great money. Some of them just don't know how to go about the way they view this game from a monetary standpoint, because they have to think about what promoters are putting at stake when they're fronting the money for these things, and what other cost factors go into it. And I think that's one of the sides of the game that Teofimo should study and look into, because he has the potential of becoming a big star and maybe at some point putting on his own promotions. But he has to understand the risk of losses that go into financial losses that come into events like that, especially when you need to sell things, sponsorships and other advertisement. But I agree everything Kurt said on this one. He's just grandstanding, but it almost backfired on him. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's why it disappointed me to a certain extent, because I was thinking, dude, this can definitely backfire. Right now is not the time to be asking for more money. You got to go in and take the opportunity, man. Go for the gusto, because like Curtis said, man, if you beat even if he doesn't beat Loma, you know what I mean? I mean, this is what we talk about. This is what we ask for as, boxing fans, is, fight the big names out there. You've been climbing your way up the ladder. Go take the opportunity, and even if you lose, man, we're gonna have all our respect still. You know what I mean? One loss doesn't determine your career. So I mean, I think it was definitely the wrong time to be asked for more money, and Bob is not the type to be playing with in that manner. Stormy, what do you think about all that? You there, bro? Stormy?
Yeah, I don't know why it's always hard to come off of mute, man. It's crazy.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
Listen, man, after all of this, I'm pulling for Loma.
Oh.
And I don't even like Lomachenko, but I'm pulling for him now. So that's my comment on that. Kurt basically covered everything. But from after all of this and how it went down, I'm pulling for Loma.
Definitely, man. It's going to be a great fight, man. Loma is highly skilled. We all know the story with him. I mean, the angles, the footwork. I mean, it's going to be great. I can't wait, man. So Curtis, I think you mentioned a moment ago. Yeah, it's set for October 3rd, right? Is it the 3rd?
October 3rd.
Is it set in stone? It's official, or they're just shooting for that date? I didn't get that.
I heard the fight was 75% done, and they're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. If there's nothing dramatic comes up, the fight will be made. I mean, it's already August. I know they've been training. I know Lomachenko been training like hell. Tiafimo too, but it's first, second week of August, and the fight is in October, so it has to be done by next week for that date. Or they'll push it back again, and you're going to see fights being pushed back, what can mess the sport of boxing up, man. But as far as I know right now, an inside source, October 3rd.
Awesome. Heck yeah, man. So thank you so much, Christina G, for your love. Definitely, man. Just subscribe to your channel. Hey, I appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. J.A. Dixon is in the building too. What is good? Keep the virtual door open. G5 Gabe, what is good, my brother? Thank you so much. Everybody who's tuning in, remember, keep that virtual door open. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Let's get to our first bullet point, sanctioning bodies. I mean, there's so much to talk about concerning this issue and concerning this bullet point. I mean, first and foremost, I wanted to give just a little bit my input on it. Then we're going to get to everybody else. And remember, everybody who's tuning in, remember, this is the beauty of live sessions. This is the beauty of lives and having guests who are very knowledgeable, very wise, in life in general and in the sport of boxing. So, I mean, depending on what we talk about and how this goes, other bullet points will come out, and that's the beauty of it all. And on your comments also, that's what I always, I like to encourage you guys, those who are tuning in, engage in the comments. Go ahead and comment ahead. This is a free platform, man. It's an open platform. So sanctioning bodies, I mean, we all know, you know what I mean? Concerning the sport of boxing, there are many sanctioning bodies, and with it come many belts. We're talking about, just off the bat, WBA, you got the IBF, you got the IBO, we got the WBC, WBO, I mean, and they all with it and within those sanctioning bodies have their own specific rankings, okay, of fighters, top 10, top 15, what have you, mandatories in those rankings. And within those sanctioning bodies, there are several belts. I mean, not all the sanctioning bodies have just one belt for each division. Now we're talking about, super championship belt. We're talking about regular championship belt. We're talking about interim championship belt. WBC's talking about diamond champion, whatever the heck other, okay, we're going to get to that a little bit later, but this is just the first impression. Okay. This is just my first impression when you just think of sanctioning bodies, casual fans, this is sometimes what discourages and confuses new fans in the sport of boxing. There are so many belts. There are so many sanctioning bodies. You even have the Ring magazine has a belt. I mean, okay, and that from what I know, the Ring is not even a sanctioned body. It's just they have a belt. And if I'm not mistaken, the Ring is quite historic. So is WBA. I mean, they're quite historic when it comes to their history. So let's start like this. Let's just start like this because there's so much to talk about in this. Stormy B, we'll start with Stormy B. Stormy, what's your first reaction when you think sanctioning bodies when it comes to the sport of boxing? Like, what's your first, what comes to mind?
They're the first people out front when it's a championship match to put their hands in your pockets. That's all. Extractions, from your purse, looking to shake the dollars out of your pocket. And the least who put anything at risk on the line. Fighters who go after these titles representing certain sanctioning bodies, they're blinded in the early stages of becoming world champions and associating championship titles with achievement in the sport. However, that is not what it really is. What it really is the fighter going out to conquer. First of all, a fighter has to have a plan of what he wants out of the sport. If you want to be the best in the sport, you have to angle yourself on the preparations toward those guidelines of being a challenge to whoever is the best in the sport. And titles and sanctioning bodies don't often represent that. That could just be a lane for a fighter to pursue. But the best in the sport, you can actually make your reputation, make your legacy by following that, which does not always lead back to championships. And when a fighter understands that, sanctioning bodies and titles are worthless and meaningless. And the fans and that popular fighter will determine what success is in the sport. That's what these fighters have to understand and recognize. But the sanctioning bodies are there to create an environment of where they can control the economics of the sport at the so-called top, especially when you talk about titles being involved in it.
Awesome, man. Well said. Well said. Kurtis, getting back to that same thing. First, we'll start like that, right? What's your first, what comes to mind when you think of sanctioning bodies?
Money, like Stormy said, the more champions, the more belts, the more money the sanctioning bodies get. Remember, those belts are not free. You pay to keep those belts. You pay a sanctioning fee. That's why Floyd Mayweather used to drop the belts. They wanted him to pay like $1.1 million for sanctioning fees. And once you become, the only thing that can beat that is your name. Once you become a big name in the sport, your name is the belt. But a guy that's up and coming, he has to pay sanctioning fees, and nobody wants to do that. But people like having that belt around their waist. It's an ego thing. It's something that you accomplish, but it's greed, it's money. I'm gonna say this: them sanctioning, those sanctioning bodies, they all have money. WBA is the oldest one, which came in '62, and WBC came in '63, and I think the IBF came in '88. No, IBF came in '83, and the WBO came in '88. Before it was just the New York SAC Championship with Sports Athletic Commission, and the NBA, which came in 1921. The NBA evolved to the WBA, which came in '62, but it became all about money, because if you're a sanctioning body, not only that, but WBO, when it came about, they was giving belts to popular champions. I seen Tommy Hearns lose a fight against James the Heat Kitchen, and they gave the fight to Hearns because it was a political move. They wanted a named fighter to represent that belt, because in that fight, Kitchen knocked Hearns down, and he was the first WBO champion, Thomas Hearns. And they was giving popular champions belts because they wanted an established fighter. If you want a product to sell, you're not going to give it to an unknown. You're going to give it to a fighter that's known, that's advertisement. So it's business. So the sanctioning bodies have power. They can do what they want, but it's all about money. The junior this and super that, which is basically the same thing. When boxing is at its highest point, you only have 4 belts, and Henry Armstrong had 3 of them. That was power, and you had NABF and the USBA, which was regional titles, but I respect those regional titles more because the way boxing was structured in the 80s, if you became the NABF or USBA champion, you was getting a title shot, 100%. Like when Hearns beat Schuler for the NABF title, he fought, he wanted to fight Marvin Hagler, the rematch, but it didn't work out like that. But that's the difference. It's all money, more champions, more belts, the more sanctioning fees, the more money you put in my pocket.
Wow. Reggie, what's your first impression, sanctioning bodies, when you think of that?
Well, I think of them representing the belts that champions fight for. But in reality, they're no more than mafia shakedown organizations, in my opinion. It makes no sense that for a fighter to go in to be awarded with something, they have to pay for it. That's almost like an artist creating works of art when it comes to film, or those who produce movies having to go into Grammys and Oscars. And because they win the award, they got to pay these huge ass sums of money to receive an award. And I think that's BS. And I don't know why fighters don't look at it. I will fight champions. I will relinquish every single title because it makes no sense. And the odd thing is the way that boxing works. It's like everyone is taking from those who put the most risk up. I don't know any sport that is like boxing where fighters have to pay the trainers. They pay. Do the promoters get a part of their money too? Because of the promoters getting their money, that's some other kind of suspect crap. Is that a promoter is making money and also taking money, which is an issue. Sanctioning body who is meant to sanction and I guess organize and all this other crap, and also award you for your efforts, but they're taking money to award you for your efforts of being victorious. None of this stuff makes sense. And for organizations like that to be able to present people with basically a trophy, that's all a belt is, a trophy, you having to pay for it, like that doesn't sit right and it doesn't operate right. To me, I think it's all clownish. Has it always been this way that you paid for a belt? Or was this something, one of the OGs probably know, was this something later down the line to where the sanctioning organizations started implementing where fighters had to pay to earn a belt that they fought for? And if I was a fighter thinking consciously like that, ain't no way I'm about to pay for that. Ain't no way. That's how I look at it.
That was, excuse me, I mean to cut you off. That was later down the road. It wasn't always like that. The promoters will say the sanctioning body he's not getting money, but that's not true. Behind the scenes, I guarantee you the promoter will get something. The sanctioning bodies and the promoter, they work together against the fighter.
Wow. Oh, sanctioning bodies and promoters work together. Okay, now, real quick. Now, you guys gave your input concerning like the first thing you think of. Now, one question for you guys. I'm just sitting back and just, absorbing the info. Now, do you okay, maybe the amateurs, okay, when we talk about amateurs, boxers coming up in the amateurs, I'm not sure if you guys are very acquainted with that aspect of boxing with the amateurs. Amateurs, if I'm not mistaken, have a lot of titles, also a lot of tournaments, a lot of. I mean, when you just look for example, you look into a pro fighter's basement or whatever. Sometimes there are interviews on TV or what have you throughout the years where they say, yeah, here's my amateur, and they have a whole bunch of trophies. It's kind of like soccer. It's kind of like, other sports where on the rise, when athletes are coming up in their youth in certain sports organizations, and with boxing, it's the same. They have multitudes and, wrestlers. I mean, it goes on and on. Multitudes of trophies. Isn't it kind of the same, the achievements of amateurs in maybe it's a big difference, maybe not, or maybe there's a similar correlation with sanctioning bodies and all these belts? I mean, can it be that it's not just about money? You see what I'm saying? Can it be that they're just legit accomplishments? I mean, I definitely agree, though, that a lot of it is about money. But can it be that, those accomplishments are to a certain extent worth, a valid reputation and respect for each fighter who has a belt? Stormy B, can we start with you in that?
I'm sorry. What can you say the question again?
Like I know it's kind of lengthy, right? But can it be that, the sanctioning bodies and the multitudes of belts that they have nowadays, can it be that it's not just about money, just kind of like the amateurs, where the amateurs have multitudes, boxing amateurs, they have multitudes of trophies, multitudes of belts also. Can it be along the lines of how amateurs achieve their trophies and belts? Can it be that, sanctioning bodies now with the belts that they have and the multitude, like regular champion, super champion, et cetera, can it be that it's not just about money, that there is a certain, respect attached to that belt and the fighter that has that belt?
Absolutely not. This is about money and money only. This is the thing. That's where our society has gone. And it's what drives a lot of people who leech off of the blood of the fighters. This is the thing. The person who should be paid most handsomely is the fighter. The person who is not paid is the fighter. And the thing is everyone else is making money. So what they've devised is they've created more titles, AKA trophies, trinkets, so that they could have more bodies, like sanctioning bodies, committees, to leech off of the various people who vie for those titles. Remember, that's all they're in it for. When, as Kurt mentioned earlier, when Floyd Mayweather started exercising his option of where his status was in the sport by throwing down those belts, the economics that he was able to deal with going forward in his career made him the most wealthy paid athlete, okay? Because he maximized his potential. You know, he diversified his portfolio by making himself the commodity that also put himself in best position to get the most out of the return. And he was able to do that by putting those sanctioning bodies aside. Canelo Alvarez has just done the same thing. And
Right.
many people are not saying much about him. I don't know if there's a reason for that because of nationality or whatever, but he did, and he opted to do the same thing that Floyd has done, and he has become quite wealthy behind doing that, even to the degree now that people are crying that he doesn't want to fight them and this and that. But look at it for what it is. If he can get paid quite handsomely by fighting the least threats in the sport to him in his position, why not do it and make the maximum money? He's no fool. He learned something from being in there with Floyd, right? And he learned something from Floyd being there at the top of the sport and recognized what he could do. If they're going to pay you to fight the guys that you want to fight and not incur the risk that for guys who might be able to take you or who are just on your level or whatever, you'd be a fool not to exercise those options, you know, and that's what he's doing. And some of the other guys are trying to emulate that, but their lack of experience has them looking quite foolish out here because they haven't even done anything to establish themselves for someone to be an audience on their wagon, you know, or promoting or saluting, wanting them to, you know, whatever's going to be their next event. So with all of this, no, absolutely not. It's about the money and the money only. And as long as there are people out there who won't listen to good counsel, because there are many of those, there will always be people that these sanctioning bodies can feast off of. And you're seeing it even right now. We opened the show talking about Teofimo. So it's like you have to use the experience that's around you or that is before you. If you don't want to use that, then you are for the streets, as they say.
Definitely. Kurtis, just kind of switch it up a little bit here with this. Was there a time where belts were honored? I'm going to get to the comments in a little bit because there's some good stuff here that the brothers here and sisters, you know, family here that's put in the chat here. But was there a time where belts were respected? I just recall right now off the bat, back in the the glory days of fighting. I mean, that's a big, you know, but what I mean is that like around the 60s to the 90s. The heavyweight division, I mean, and, the other divisions also definitely, but, it seemed like the WBC belt was the highly most coveted belt. I mean, was there a time where there was really like respectable, honored titles with someone having a belt?
Absolutely, yes. The heavyweight championship at one time was the most coveted prize in all of sports. It was more than the Super Bowl MVP, NBA, soccer, football. It was just unbelievable. When Jack Dempsey was champion, he was a more popular athlete than Babe Ruth. He made more money than Babe Ruth. He was more revered than Babe Ruth. When you look at fighters in their personalities or their it could be the way they fight. Mike Tyson, who was the youngest heavyweight champion, he could live off his name alone because he was champion and his personality, everything ties into one another. He's hosting Shark Week tomorrow. I mean Monday, on National Geographic. Shark Week,
Yeah.
and this guy was a champion in 1986. Muhammad Ali name still rings out, because he was champion when he fought Foreman. Over 1 billion people saw that fight. And it did mean something. Joe Louis was champion for 12 years. It did mean something. Along the way, when boxing lost steam, so did the belts. But it's not really the belts, it's the sport as a whole. Once the sports get back to a certain level, the championship will mean a lot more. And it's who has the championship. Usually you will, when boxing was on top, the heavyweight champion, he has this certain type of aura and his personality. Jack Dempsey was beloved. Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Mike Tyson, they were loved. Those are the guys that were the guy in boxing. And, because there's only a few high profile divisions, but heavyweight is the pinnacle of a fighter crossing over to the big time. I mean, you had De La Hoya with the female fan base, and Sugar Ray Leonard, and then Floyd Mayweather as welterweights, but heavyweight's always been the guy, because when you look at it, it's not a coincidence that Muhammad Ali is the most famous athlete ever to walk the earth. You could put Michael Jordan in that class, you could put Pele in that class, Wayne Gretzky, but to me, Muhammad Ali, because of his enigmatic personality, and his aura, and him becoming champion and telling you, I'm the greatest, and you compound greatest with being champion, all that works hand in hand. And at one time, it did mean a whole lot. It doesn't really mean that much because the heavyweights just doesn't carry, excuse the pun, the weight of what the older heavyweights used to signify, and that was world domination.
Yeah, definitely. Quick question, Kurtis, real fast, talking about that. So back in the Dempsey days, what championship belt was it in those days?
It was the National Boxing Association belt, which Dempsey was the first champion in 1921 when he beat George Carpentier, and he was champion from 1919. He took the belt from Jess Willard until he lost it to Gene Tunney in 1926. He was the NBA champion.
So the NBA switched to the WBA, right?
That's correct, yes.
And like Sugar Ray Robinson and of that era, was it the WBA championship in that time?
No, it was NBA and New York SAC exchange, New York SAC belt, which stands for Sports Athletic Commission belt. It was the New York SAC belt and the NBA belt. You only had two belts at that time.
Only two. And now we're talking about just multitudes. Now, let me chime in on this, and I'm going to go to Reggie right now. And you can expound how you want. Me, one way I see it, as you guys said, it's all about the money. These sanctioning bodies pocketing all this money. Okay, real quick, let me get to the chat real fast because there's some good stuff right here. Ogden says, I agree. I think if you have a belt, you shouldn't have to pay to keep it. Yeah, exactly. You should have to fight to keep it, right? but now they have to pay. They have to pay out their pocket, these fighters. Obviously, they do fight to keep them to a certain extent. Yeah, we know that, but they even have to pay. I mean, it should be solely just to fight. You just fight and keep your belt, and that's it. It's just ridiculous, in my personal opinion, that they got it. Fighters have to pay for their own belt. I mean, that's just nonsense, I think, right? Bruce Go says, remember when the IBF came along? Bob Lee split from the Arum-affiliated WBA, started the IBF, and just gave Holmes and Hagler their first world titles. Wow. D. Hodges is in the building. I thank you so much, man. Thanks so much for tuning in. D. Style is also in the building. Welcome, family. Welcome, D Style, D Hodges, everybody, man. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. And now, getting back to Reggie, what I was going to say right now, a moment ago, that I'm going to keep that comment right there. So one way I see it also, as you guys said, the money, they're pocketing the cash from fighters, these sanctioned bodies. It's a great way for them to profit. I mean, but it's a horrible for this whole, the whole ranking system and things of that manner. Reggie, this is how I see it too. I see it also in this manner that for many, there are more, I mean, we know this, there are more casual fans of the sport of boxing than hardcore fans. There are more, there are less fans that really, seriously follow the sport of boxing, and know the less quote unquote popular names or renowned names in the sport of boxing, and who really do their investigation and research and the history of the sport of boxing. There are a lot less fans like that. So, and there are more casuals. Okay. So there are more casuals who just go to the sport, to go to events, who have been going to events throughout the years, just because, their friends invited them, or it's because they want to see two people go at it. And they just go for the event, for the glamour, the glitz and glamour of the whole event of fighting. For example, you got celebrities who go. I mean, I'm not saying all celebrities are casuals, but I'm sure a lot of those celebrities, probably don't know much about the sport of boxing. I think I do know LL Cool J. He does know. It looks like he does know quite a bit on the sport of boxing. There are some celebrities who do know, but some that just go because they are, they have their tickets for free or what have you from, the promoters, and just to be there, just to be present. And, so it's just an example of that. So there are more casuals who don't really know about the sport of boxing. The reason why I say all this is this. How I look at it, too, is that sanctioning bodies, it seems like they just invent belts out of nowhere, so that the fighter who has them belts, they have the opportunity to have more belts, and it looks shinier. It pulls more attention, it pulls more attention and eyeballs to them. And that translates to more money. You see what I'm saying? It translates to more people following and paying to go see that event, because, like I think Kurtis Anderson mentioned a moment ago, that it sounds and it looks good to have a fighter with 2 belts or 3 belts or 4 belts, and for the announcer to say unified champion, undisputed champion, IBF, WBA, Ring Magazine, lineal champion, all those titles. And it sounds really, really attractive. And a person watching on TV is like, whoa, wow, I'm going to pay for his next fight. It's going to be pay-per-view. Definitely, I'm going to pay for that. Look at all those belts on him. So it attracts, it allures a lot of people to that. I think that sanctioning bodies also another reason they just invent belts and make all these belts is to pull more people. Marketing. Reggie, do you think that's also a way they do it too with these sanctioning bodies and all these belts?
No, because I don't think fans recognize belts at all.
Right.
You only see belts are only seen for a moment. I think what fans appreciate the most is what's being presented to them inside of a ring. You can see fighters who can lose fights and still come out victorious in the eyes of fans based on what the fans were able to see from this person. This person is exciting, blah, blah, blah. And fans can care less about what this person has won that goes around their waist or what was taken away. That's all that matters, is what's done inside that ring, what records look like. Sometimes belts, you hardly even see belts anymore. And like I said, the most you see them is being put around someone's waist. Having the label of being champion, that's prestigious. But you also see with Canelo facing defeat, still being able to hold his name. I remember as a Cuban fighter some years ago, he used to wear a ducktail. I can't think of his name, but he had a fight, a very tough fought fight where he lost and he won the crowd over. And he came in as an underdog. His performance was such a great performance in his defeat that he started to gain a fan following. You've seen the same thing in the Derevyanchenko fight against Triple G. Fans care about what's being presented inside that ring. The same kind of following Kwanaki had around him based on his performance. That's all that matters. And that's what fighters need to start to understand. But what happens when you get boxing where it's modeled, the business model is structured in corruption, collusion between promoter and these sanctioning bodies in an effort of ripping these fighters off. A lot of these fighters coming from backgrounds to where they're a lot of fighters ain't coming from wealthy backgrounds, middle class backgrounds. So any little 6-figure payday looks like great money to them when there's other stuff being hidden on the side, and the sanctioned bodies like it that way. They like it that way. Get somebody who's not savvy on the business side of things, but is a great performer. You can do good things with building a cult following behind them, and they'll do the rest. They'll run it from there, and that's the problem in boxing. It's nobody cares about belts. No one cares at all. But these fighters, when you listen to fighters and you ask a question about should we do away with belts, these fighters buy into the shit, not realizing that in the real scheme of things, fans don't give two shits about a belt. We don't see belts anymore. Back in the days, yeah, belts were very prestigious. Being the champion of boxing held a ton of weight, as it still will today. But these fighters don't present it that way because a lot of these fighters don't hold the reins to their career. They don't hold the reins to what they project out to society. They don't put that out there to the fans. And I don't understand why these dudes are buying into paying for anything. I think this game needs to be shooken up because this greed surrounding sanctioning bodies and these promoters is what has kind of dissolved boxing to where boxing probably used to be the biggest thing in sports, period. The NBA wasn't what it was back then. What else? The NFL wasn't what it was back then. Only baseball probably rivaled boxing back then. But on a single night when great fighters meet, nothing compares to the sport of boxing. Even today, when great fighters meet, nothing compares to the sport of boxing. But that's all I got. I think it's a Ponzi scheme with these sanctioned bodies. The belts don't mean anything. And Canelo shows us that. Floyd Mayweather has shown us that. And many other fighters have been able to show you that.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I tend to not pay attention to belts when it comes to fighters. And exactly what you said. Like, I pay attention more to what they bring into the ring. And Stormy B, real quick before I get that, Laya J, she's salute. Thanks so much for tuning in, girl. Thanks so much, man. You said it seems like everything always boils down to money, even sports. Shaking my head. Yeah, man. That's the sad thing about it. That's what really hurts me, when it comes to the sport of boxing, because I'm a big, boxing fan. So when it comes to that, and I see these things and I hear these things, I learn these things from the greats here, you know what I mean, here on the panel. It just makes me like, man, it sucks. It really does suck how, and that's one reason why I don't really pay attention. I definitely respect, like, for example, if I were to interview a fighter, let's just give an example. I actually did recently, with, Albert Prince Bell. I mean, great interview with him. I definitely respect and I recognize that he has a belt. I respect it. If I were to interview a fighter, for example, Charlo, or I mean, I would definitely recognize him as the WBC champ. You know what I mean? The Charlo brothers, or the champions that are out there right now. Spence. I would definitely recognize, hey, Spence, welterweight, current, et cetera, champion. And I would, introduce him like that because I would respect it, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like, I try not to, I do not put my attention towards the belt. I put my attention a lot more completely towards the fighter and what he or she, because obviously there's a woman in boxing, put them, what they bring into the ring. That's my attention all the time. Like Reggie just said right now, that's what we want to see. That's what our attention is towards. Stormy B, now what do you know, like, about, like, there has been, I remember some time ago, and maybe you can just enlighten us on this, this topic, that sanctioning bodies. What do you know about sanctioning bodies? I saw a video some time ago. Let me explain this real quick. It was some kind of like a documentary. It was a while ago I saw this. A documentary on, the business of boxing and, sanctioning bodies and things of that nature. And I remember there was like some kind of undercover camera and there was like a sting operation or something. Some kind of operation, I don't remember, where, there was a meeting with some head of a sanctioning body. I don't remember which one it was. And there was a little meeting in a hotel and, they paid off this guy I think it was a promoter or a manager, paid off this guy from a sanctioning body to put that fighter in the rankings or to take him away or something along those lines. Stormy, when it comes to rankings, the rankings and sanctioning bodies, number 10, number 9, et cetera, whatever. Do fighters necessarily fight their way up to those rankings, or do you think strings are being pulled behind the scenes with money being paid under the table to put these fighters in those rankings? Or what can you enlighten us about that?
Well, I think you've enlightened enough with the question itself.
Okay.
I'm being serious here. You're actually asking a question that you already know the answer to because you witnessed things. But this is how you get beyond what you witnessed. You stop supporting the BS that's happening in the sport. You begin to take up the mantra of what guys like myself, Scrapbook, Kurt, all of us, Reggie, what we say and what we display when we do our shows and what we talk about when it comes down to the sport. It's about the quality of the sport, not the quantity. When you deal in quantity, that's where the surplus with money and dollars come in, and it affects people's judgments, their decisions. It affects how they decide to throw support and promotion behind fighters, like this Tiafimo dude. Now it's been said, that he was just, trying to bargain for more money or whatever. But to me, he's already tainted goods by a number of avenues of how he's, handled himself in the sport over the past year and a half. So when you talk about these meetings and somebody had, went undercover with the cameras and audio recordings and tapes and stuff like this of deals being made in back rooms, we had spoke in a previous show about how Don King would, take certain people to dinner, or they would have
Right.
dinner on his dime. When you have those type of improper relationships, how can someone who doesn't have a seat at those tables have a fair shake when they're dealing with these people? This is why you have to have the sound counsel of people in your corner. We recently hear that Effie Ajaba has now gone on with, I think it's James Prince in Top Rank.
Top Rank, yeah.
And we also know that Ronnie Shields has openly stated that he left Ajaba a few weeks back, possibly due to the fact that Ajaba let him know what direction he wanted to head. And Shields, with his experience in the sport, he's been around a while and fought himself professionally. He probably had, different ideas for Ajaba. And so the fact that you see that relationship broken now, it speaks more about the young man who's trying to make the moves, which is Ajaba, and over someone like Shields who has experience. We were talking about the loyalty aspect of things. When you talk about loyalty, you have to be loyal to where you want to be. Okay. And in that is also yourself, but you also have to have people who are going to care about you. Okay. Win, lose, or draw, come rain or shine, that they're going to look out for your best interest because you put your life on the line to prepare. So if you're going with people who are promising you money and dollars and things like that, but nothing else, making sure you're good with family, then you can compromise everything and be awash to sea. So yeah, I think when you presented that question, you actually presented a question that you already know the answer to, and you have witnessed over the years that these things are taking place. And fighters always end up on the bad end of things unless they stayed the course, made sure that they had great people around them, and are in a better place. Look at Marvin Hagler, for an example. He hasn't fought since he lost that decision to Sugar Ray Leonard, but he's in a good place. And he had good people around him. And he still has those solid relationships with those people to this day. That's one fighter that we're using as an example in this discussion, but it can be done. But in a sport where ethics go out the window, not a lot will end up on their feet. A lot of them will end up either on their ankles, on their knees, on their backs, or somewhere even worse.
Amazing, man. Amazing stuff. Kurtis, concerning that similar, and I want to get to the chat in a moment, and also of something a coach has said back in January. I want to bring that up right here and kind of connect it to what we're talking about. But Kurtis, do you think that, like, it's kind of similar question to Stormy. Do you think that fighters legitly fight their way up to rankings nowadays? Or, I mean, is it all like, you know, corruption, or do you think that some legitimately do get in those rankings in certain sanctioning bodies and the sanctioning body rankings?
Some are legit. Most of it is corruption. I know this firsthand. When I was living in Newark, New Jersey, the IBF headquarters was in East Orange, New Jersey. I know the daughter of Bob Lee. I knew him. He was the president of the IBF, sanctioning body. Remember, Bob Arum on the witness stand in a court of law under oath admitted paying Bob Lee to, payola, which means, I give you money and you do me a favor.
Wow.
Most musicians does it on certain radio stations. They give the DJ money and they'll play their records all day, all week. And just like boxing, the evil that men do. He gave Bob Lee $125,000 to get certain fighters up in the rankings and make them the mandatory defense for the titles. So he told the truth on this is under oath. Bob Arum admitted, and Bob Lee, he went to jail for that.
Wow.
So the FBI stepped in. So it became a very serious matter. The FBI stepped in and investigated. And he made a lot of money taking bribes off promoters, and he did like a year in jail, maybe 10 months in jail, and he was let go. The IBF headquarters is down the street from my house in Springfield, New Jersey. Mr. Peoples is the president of the IBF, but so I knew firsthand what was going on. I said, wait a minute, this guy hasn't fought in 2 years, and he's number 2. So I knew something was funny. Unfortunately, boxing always been corrupt because, like I said, when you don't have a federal commission, nobody is policing you. You'll do whatever. They can do whatever. The sanctioning bodies and the promoters, they have all the power, so they can dictate the terms for the fighters. They can dictate who's going to get a title shot or what have you. Like Don King, when he was there, he in the WBC, Don King had them in their pocket. They made some kind of deal. I knew something was going on because Don King and Suleiman was so close. If you sign with Don King, he'll jerk you, but you was getting a title shot. That's why he can put on all those fantastic cards. I mean, one time he paid Larry Holmes, and Holmes is coming up. He paid Larry Holmes out of his pocket. He just threw the money at him. When Larry Holmes fought Roy Tiger Williams. And Larry Holmes didn't want to fight because of a damaged hand, and Don King told him, you better fight. It's just like it's a fictional movie, but the guy who was mimicking Don King said, to Union King, boy, you fight who I tell you to fight, when and where. That's basically they trying to say Don King,
Wow.
but that's it's better now, but it was really bad in the early 2000s and the 90s. I mean,
Wow.
it was just running rampant. Where the FBI, even though there's no federal commission, the FBI does look over boxing to make sure it runs the way it's supposed to be. So it's a lot better now because that scared a lot of people. They made an example out of Bob Lee when they put him in jail. People saying you can go to jail for accepting money, so kind of shook the core of the tree, and people was falling out. And they said, man, once the FBI get into something, man, it's a whole nother level.
Oh, quick question, Curtis, on that. I mean, that's a lot of stuff you talked about there. When did that happen with Bob Arum and Mr. Lee?
I think in the early 2000s or late 90s. I forgot the years that the IPF was in East Orange. It was around but that time.
Wow, but around that
Yeah,
time, yeah.
yeah, around that time. Yep, but Bob Arum admitted because he had nowhere to go. He was on the witness stand. You know about United States or anywhere. Once you perjure yourself, you're going to jail. So Bob Arum came clean and said, "Yeah, I gave the guy $130,000, what have you, to put this certain fighter up in the ranking." So he admitted it on the witness stand.
Wow, man. Wow. And that now, you mentioned right now a moment ago that it's better now. Is it because? So I think you said that. So the FBI, right, obviously got in that mix with Bob Arum and Mr. Lee for that whole scandal they did, and so, I mean, does that kind of allude to or imply, like in these days, do you think the FBI to a certain extent monitors, the business and things of that nature of boxing? Do they monitor it at least, or they're just kind of like left it behind and that's it?
Yeah, they look over it. Don King's son, Carl King, because they got the Muhammad Ali Act started. The Muhammad Ali Act was you can't be a manager and promoter and the same fighter, two fighters that's fighting each other. It becomes a conflict of interest. So when Witherspoon was fighting, I forgot who he was fighting at the Garden, but he was the promoter and manager, and you can't do that. You're getting two checks.
Wow.
So they brung in the Muhammad Ali Act and they stopped all that. So boxing doesn't have a federal commission, but people do look at it when it becomes
Okay.
overtly corrupt.
Right.
Somebody has to step in, like the FBI, and be like, "Wait a minute, you're going too far. You're not even trying to hide it." And so we have to correct the wrong.
I got you. Okay. So, I mean, it's corrupt, but maybe a lot like maybe not. Is it correct to say it? Okay, so boxing is corrupt. I mean, we know that every sport, everything's corrupt in this world. I mean, I guess we can say, right? But but not extremely corrupt, right? I mean, is that a way to look at it, Curtis?
Yes, yeah, you could say that. It's underhanded, under the table. Don't let this guy know what we doing. It's sort of like that.
Right.
Real quick, Al Heyman is a promoter, regardless what people say. I know this firsthand because I know people right next to him. He is a promoter. He just hides it because he don't want it to become a conflict of interest.
Whoa, and I think that's smart. I think Al Heyman, I think that's smart of him to do, right? And he's really, really behind the scenes. He's a really, really exclusive person, and I think that's pretty smart. Don't you?
Yeah, it's like a mob boss. The boss doesn't do anything. He gets his consigliere, which is lieutenants, to do his dirty work and collect the money, where he stays in his mansion eating, steaks and potatoes. They do all the work, and he just hides out in an undisclosed location. That's basically I'm describing Al Heyman.
And he is looked at as a quote unquote advisor, right?
Yeah. See how it comes together? Advisor / manager, but he cannot be a promoter or becomes the conflict of interest. But I know he promotes. He just plays the back scene. That's all.
Wow, man. Let me get real quick to the chat right here because I got something else I want to bring out, and then we'll go to Reggie right now. So we got Ogden saying Jack Nicholson, big time box fan. If I'm not mistaken, Jack Nicholson is the guy. Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I think he's the one who watches all the LA Lakers games, right? He's the Joker from Batman back in the day, right?
That's correct, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we got there.
Rosie Perez is a big boxing fan too.
Yes, she is. There are some celebrities that are big time box fans. Definitely, we have here. Here's a question. I mean, any of you guys can answer. If a fighter has 4 belts, does he have to pay for each belt? All those belts? So
yeah, he does.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why Mayweather used to drop all his belts. Yeah.
Man, wow. So Brusco says here, WBC and WBA weren't based in the U.S., so they didn't have to follow state commission rules outside the U.S. Interesting stuff right there. Reggie Owens saluting there, and we got here Jay Dixon. It's mostly about level of competition. Exactly, definitely. Definitely, man. It's mostly about level competition for me. I don't get excited watching a guy beat up on a guy with no skills. Yeah, man. I agree. I mean, that's good stuff right there. I mean, D-Hodge just saluting right there. Again, right here, we got Bruce Goes. Plus, everything's all over the world in a minute due to the internet. Yes, I mean, it just flies, man. Everything's everywhere, man. Back then, it was luck to get a minute on the local news. Yeah, exactly. We touched a little bit upon that. The last series, if I'm not mistaken, the last show of the series about social media, right? And now everything is just everywhere all the time. You know, people get their word, their name out there. Now, Reggie, let me jump to you real quick. Now, interesting. This is something interesting that I came across. Real quick, Bruce Goes real fast. Miles Davis was always ringside at interesting. Madison Square Gardens, big fights. Cool. Now, this is something I went across. This is back in January, okay? I made a video about it recently, and I just want to throw it out here in the live because it correlates to what we're talking about. And it's a trip because it comes from a coach. Now, this came from Coach Nick Gatlin, okay? And this was on Stay Ready, salute to Stay Ready TV. He interviewed this coach, okay, Nick Gatlin, back in January. And I tuned in because I was like, cool, he's going to interview a coach. I want to hear this. And it's awesome because Stay Ready was asking questions that people were commenting in the chat, that were putting there in the live chat, you know, and I put some questions. Shouts out to Stay Ready. Thanks so much for paying attention to my questions, man, and asking the coach the questions I asked. There were a couple questions I asked, and one of them was, is politics as bad as it is, as we hear, you know, as we fans? This is back in January. So as we fans here, you know, is it that bad? You know, politics, something like that along those lines I asked. And I have here the quote, and I put it down in a thumbnail. Okay. And I have the thumbnail here. I have it projected here. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me show you guys it. Hold on. Let me share the screen. Hold on. I want to share the screen with you guys. Now, let me show y'all. Hold on. Just bear with me a couple seconds. I want to share it with you. Okay. The thumbnail. So it's right there. Do you guys see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Perfect. Okay, so this is exactly, and I put it as a quote on the thumbnail of the video. It said, this is what Coach Nick Gatlin responded. It says, "It ain't how good you can fight." Wow, man. That when I heard that, I was like, whoa. It's who you know and who you got working for you. Okay, man. Okay, so let's get to Reggie, and then we're going to go around the circle again. We're going to go to Stormy and to Kurt. Concerning what Coach Nick Gatlin, and if I'm not mistaken, Nick Gatlin worked with Ronnie Shields, if I'm not mistaken. They were working together or something along that nature. You know, so I'm going to repeat. This is what he said. You guys can see on the screen there. This is what he said. It ain't how good you can fight. It's who you know. Man. Oh, man, when I first heard that, it's like, man, dude. And then it's, and who you got working for you. Okay, so that makes me kind of question things, but at the same time, I mean, we know those who are champs right now. I mean, there are excellent fighters. I mean, I cannot negate that. I mean, we got good fighters out there, you know, great champions in divisions, and I appreciate it, and I love watching them fight. But what do you think about that comment, bro? What do you think about that? And it kind of and it kind of correlates to what we're talking about, because how fighters sometimes get in ranking lists, you know, and ranking lists and certain sanctioning bodies. And many times, checks out, many times we fans ask, how can this person be, you know, in this ranking? How is that possible? Many times we see that. Or many times we think, like, why is this guy here in this ranking? How did he get there? You see what I'm saying? And this kind of connects. So what do you think about this, Reggie, according to that quote from Nick Gatlin? You there, Reggie?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if it froze up or not.
Don't worry about it.
No, that comment is true for a lot of things. That's where you deal with why people are so disloyal within everything that comes into life. Everybody wants to rub shoulders with connected people just for the opportunities. And sometimes that's what comes with it. It's about who you know versus the work that you put in. I mean, some people are exceptions to that rules, but along with what comes with it is those same vulturing types who have all the, the connections, their network is good. Pretty soon they come out vulturing for these guys, the high talent type fighters. Just whether or not, where does that fighter's loyalty lie? Do they remain with their team, or do they break away to get this opportunity? And you see it in all sorts of sports. You see it at the youngest level, because even when you look at youth sports, you see all this AAU stuff, these different programmings, and it's not going up through the regular recreations. Everybody's trying to get connected with who has the bigger platform as far as their team, their organizations, what this organization is connected to, and a lot of talent being taken from where people reside and going where people find people in certain areas find a benefit and using these people's talent to expose it in order to get themselves rich. And that's what happens out of that. And many people buy it. Many people go along with it because that's the fast track to receiving this money, is just being in line with knowing the right people. And it's a sad affair, man. It's sad as hell. I won't subscribe to it. I never subscribe to it. The reason I don't subscribe to it, I ain't gonna say I'm loyal to a fault, but I mess with who I mess with, come along with, who I know are reliable people. I just don't trust everyone. And if I was in this position of as an athlete, I don't want to run to just jumping aboard something just for the opportunity. I got to ride with who I ride with, because in the end, when things are all over, are these same people who you're trying to get connected with, are they still there? And you see a lot of times, no. A lot of these fighters get to rubbing in shoulders with these guys who can afford opportunities, but when things go bad or things are over with, these people ain't around you because they didn't care for you in the beginning. And that's just the way I feel about this stuff. But in many parts, that comment is correct. And that comment is real correct. And that's the sad part of it. But unfortunately, it's a sad part. But that's all I have on that.
What do you think about that, Stormy, in general, with that quote, Nick Gatlin? What's your reaction on that?
Well, it's always been a thing to me, is that, like Marvin Hagler said after he, was robbed of a decision in a championship fight where he clearly won, he said, from here on out, my left and my right are going to be my judge and my jurors. You see, you can know whoever you want to know, but when you're in that ring, it's only the guy who's fighting the opponent. You know what I mean? So there are people behind the strings, and have always been, who look to work and pull, opportunities out for guys and have other people throw fights and all of that. But at the end of the day, you hit a guy on the button, that is judge and jury right there on the spot. Now, what happens after that may be something that may be, questionable, or someone may not want to, face the wrath, so to speak. But I will tell you, you can take things into your own hands in boxing. That's why there's so many guys that don't understand. When you get your skill set together, you know how to handle yourself and take care of yourself and defend yourself and everything. All you need is a good heartbeat and some ability, and you can get in there and make some things happen for yourself. That's one of the reasons why you have the upsets that you have from time to time, is because there's always somebody somewhere hitting on a bag in a gym or something, waiting for an opportunity. And when someone is sleeping or slips up, that's when that person comes through those cracks. But yeah, it will always, professional sports as a whole and life outside of the ring, your everyday life, when it says in that quote there, it ain't how good you can fight. Hey, it's like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You understand? Outside of boxing. So that's something that goes along in life. But guess what? In life, you put your own fate in your own hands. Sometimes you have to work hard. You may have to do something a little extra. You may have to put yourself in a position where, you're depleted because of your efforts that you put out, but you can still overcome and persevere. So yeah, you can say that statement. It applies. But there is also a counter to that statement. How is one willing to work and roll up their sleeves? Remember this. Most people want the easy path. Huh? I can go back to when I was in school. I had a sophomore instructor in social studies that used to tell us all, about how lazy we were and how we just wanted the easy path and things like that. And he even called me out on one of my assignments. He said, "You know what? You're lazy." He was like, "Now I can be equally as lazy and just give you a failing grade for this lack of effort on this, what you turned into me. But because I'm pointing it out to you, I expect you to go back, do it over, bring it back to me, and we'll grade you on your true effort." And I listened to him and I went back and I did it the correct way and I got a passing grade. But the first time I thought I was just going to get by, just like he indicated to me. He called me on it. I never forgot that. That's why I'm able to talk about it today, because it makes a difference. You see, I don't have to live my life looking for the easy path, for someone to carve the road ahead for me and shine the light on the ground and all of that. I can do that myself. So when you have people who want things done the easy way, they will buy into Mr. Nick Gatlin's philosophy right there. But it's behalf, you need to take things on your own accord, okay? Because that's the road most traveled by, not least traveled by. So I don't buy into that.
Well said, man. I mean, greatly said. I mean, that's cool how you said that there's a counter to that. Like, we got little examples, and that's awesome. It's very true in our lives. I remember last semester when I studied in one of my modules. I'm studying a BA right now in academia, foreign language. English is a foreign language teaching, and I had a tutor, who she was super hard, man. Students didn't want her to be her tutor. Their tutors and the teacher, professor, right? And just like what Stormy B was explaining, this teacher was, oh my gosh, man, this professor was, I had to do, for example, like I had to fill in like 80 pages. We were doing a data analysis research module, something on along the lines of data analysis research and data instruments and things of that nature when it comes to programming and curriculum for schools. And she gave me, dude, I had to do like I had to fill out like 80 pages of data instruments, which is like filling out data concerning schools, students, and things of that nature, parents and stuff like that, administration, staff and stuff. And I had to fill like 80 pages, 80. Oh my gosh, dude, it was just nuts. I was like so exhausted and tired. But then, when I reflect, I would even talk to a family member, a relative who's a retired teacher. I told her, man, I got a horrible professor. She's so strict and this and that, But she told me something like what Stormy B was saying. She was saying, like, she said, you know what, you're going to appreciate this, in the future, you're going to appreciate teachers like that because they're going to teach you how to work, how to work hard for what you want. You know what I mean? You got to dig you got to roll your sleeves up. You got to get your hands dirty, get some dirt under your fingernails and work hard at it. And you're going to appreciate her because, you're going to see that this is going to really help you in your education. And I reflected on that. I said it was true. I was thinking in my head, it's very true, even though I think it sucks, I think it's hard, but it's totally true. It's totally true. And then when you apply it to life, that's what I'm saying, guys. I mean, time and time again, I say this, there's so many things to hear that we apply in our lives. When we apply it to life, even though like Stormy just said, we know it as it's not what it's who you know. But if we work hard, though, we can counter it. We can counter that, philosophy that if we work hard and dedicate ourselves to the crafts that we have in our lives, we can get it. I mean, we can achieve it, man. We can achieve it. I mean, it's possible. You know what I'm saying? And that's great, man. What Stormy B was explaining. Kurtis, what is your real quick before I get to Kurtis, quick example when we apply it to boxing now. I mean, exactly what Kurtis was saying. You have like, quick examples that come off the bat. Rosario, when he beat J-Rock. I mean, there are people and fighters who are fighting behind the scenes, who maybe not necessarily know the best connections or what have you, whatever, in this business of boxing or whatever. But what was he doing? What was Rosario doing? He was preparing. He was preparing. He was training, behind the scenes where no one was looking. You see what I'm saying? Andy Ruiz, when he fought AJ, unfortunately, he didn't keep that same fire. Even his coach, his former coach, Robles, if I'm not mistaken, he even came out to light and said, yeah, man, he had the fire, but he lost it. He lost it after the first win. The success, the money, blah, blah, blah. He lost the fire. I mean, it's horrible that, but it's reality. But I do appreciate that Andy Ruiz was one of them guys, even though he was a replacement. If I'm not mistaken, he was a replacement of Big Baby Miller. So Andy Ruiz, what was he doing? He was working on his craft, man, before he was even a replacement, before he was even considered a replacement for Anthony Joshua. What was Andy Ruiz doing? He left Top Rank. He was working on his craft, man, behind the scenes. Nobody really knew who Andy Ruiz was. Maybe some people did, obviously, but when he replaced Big Baby Miller, many people are like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Oh, he's just an easy underdog. Yeah, AJ, another easy underdog for AJ. Yeah, no problem. Whatever. AJ's going to win. I even thought that. I'll confess it, man. I mean, I was like, who? Andy Ruiz? I even made a video, but I did know who he was, though. I did definitely know who he was. I even made a video many months ago when he left Top Rank, that he switched to PBC. And I was being optimistic that he's going to have great opportunities at PBC. I was speaking optimistically about it way before he was going to fight AJ. So awesome. But the point in me saying all this is that it definitely contradicts exactly what Stormy was saying. Contradicts that saying of what Nick Gatlin, all due respect to Nick Gatlin, but it does, if you work hard, Andy Ruiz is another example. Working hard, training hard behind the scenes, definitely came and knocked AJ out in an impressive fashion. An impressive fashion. Unfortunately, he lost the fire. Y'all know the story there, but I mean that's just a sad story. But hopefully he can come back, right? But Kurtis, what's your input on that, man? What do you think about this whole quote that Nick Gatlin said?
Well, I know where he was getting at. You done seen fighters who lose, and somehow, some way, if they with a certain promoter or his personality, he's a well-liked guy, he'd get another shot, and he'd get another shot, and then another shot, But mainly, to me, like Stormy said, you can counter that what he said. In boxing, you have to win, though. When it comes down to is wins and losses, because when you win, your boxing career will be much better than if you lose, especially in a big fight or you become champion. It doesn't become who it becomes, I won this one and I got to win the next one and I have to keep winning. And as you build and as your career goes up the ladder, you can't afford to lose. That's the mentality that Floyd had. And he had to keep winning. He put pressure on himself, and and he had to keep winning because certain fighters, the undefeated record means a lot, and people, they tune in to see if you're going to lose, if they like you or not. So winning and losing means a lot. Nobody wants to lose. In college football, if you lose one game early in the season, more than likely your playoff hopes will be dashed because you lost that one game. And I like that. So that means you have to go out there and play your best for the full season so you can reach what they call a 4-team playoff tournament. And I like that. I don't like to see guys lose, knowing that they're going to get another title shot. Before fighters had pride, and I'm not saying they don't have pride, but I noticed certain fighters, they become, complacent, lackadaisical. They don't train as hard. They miss weight. That didn't happen back in the day. But, it's a new day and age. I know what Mr. Gatlin was saying, but it really comes down to winning. The more you win, the bigger purses you'll get. You can live a certain way. The more you win will dictate how your career is going to be remembered. All of that. I mean, if I was a fighter, I would want those, the big money purses, and so I could support my family. I want people to be like, man, that Kurt was a hell of a fighter. My name will live in infamy. I would want all of that. So to me, it comes down to winning. I know what he was saying, Because I've done seen fighters get multiple title shots when they lose and lose like. Well, Toro Gatti was well liked, and Jim Lampley said the dumbest thing when Gatti was coming towards the ring. Jim Lampley foolishly said, "It doesn't matter if he wins or loses. It just matters if the fight is exciting." And I thought that was the dumbest thing I ever heard a commentator say. People want to see you win. Winning is the name of the game. So that's what I have to say about that.
Definitely, man. Do you think, let's go to Reggie on this one, speaking on what Kurtis was saying, but now it seems like that, of course, the objective is always winning, but do you think that Floyd Mayweather brought I need the undefeated mentality in order to be considered great? Do you think Floyd Mayweather kind of, the word's not brainwashed, influenced, like heavily influenced that on fighters in this generation? Because Floyd Mayweather, he just, he brought a lot of things into what is boxing as far as, making a whole lot of money and living that lavish life, but also the discipline too. He's amazingly disciplined in his craft. But do you think, Reggie, that Floyd brought that heavy influence upon fighters of this day and age, to remain undefeated?
I think people are just retarded. That's what they brought to the game. I don't think Floyd really injected that. I think the retarded side of people and people's unwillingness to really put in hard work, to really dedicate themselves to something, them wanting quick rewards. People want everything rapidly because we come from a society to where everything happens for us at such a fast pitch pace. A lot of things are on demand, and a lot of people want things up front. Just like Teofimo, him wanting more than 1 point something million when other fighters have never received these type of paydays this soon. But Floyd Mayweather brought something that people should have strived for, because what it took for him to remain undefeated was dedicating himself to the sport. You hear the stories that many of these other fighters ignore. They don't put the work inside the gym. They don't put the work in their lives, meaning staying out of clubs. If you go in a club, not getting belligerent, drinking, eating the wrong type of foods, not maintaining weight, not doing the road work. Many people are just taking shortcuts and just looking to taking fights and thinking that being undefeated means everything. But no, you got to take the special fights and outwork who you're in the ring with. That's what it takes. So I think him bringing that whole aspect of being undefeated, I commend him for that. But these other fighters who want to fall in line of thinking, I got the and blah, 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 but not fighting the top tier competitions is the problem. I think people are just retarded. They and too many shortcuts going on. I don't look at Floyd and try to scapegoat him for nothing. It's all on these other folks who are doing it, because along with what Floyd has kind of pushed out, the money thing, the undefeated thing, is people miss the other aspects of what it took for the guy to get there. And that's the part that I look into. And like I say, I don't care too much about the money side of nothing or any of that. Because when I go back and watch fights of Floyd, I look at where this guy excelled compared to what other fighters don't. That's why I enjoy seeing him out there training these young fighters and locking these young fighters in. And that's the problem. We've seen it early in Tank Davis' career, him shortcutting shit. Still hasn't taken on a meaningful fight. Not even sure if you can label the Santa Cruz a meaningful fight based on him with size and the power that he has having to go down. But hopefully one day he gets there. And that's what I want to see. If they want to live up to a Floyd standard, being undefeated, they need to take the challenges, get out there, fight each other, and most importantly, get in there in the gyms and then present it inside the ring, not making excuses of this guy was too tall and that's the problem. I couldn't knock him out and it was too hard. I ain't never fighting this tall of a fighter anymore and crap like that. Like, that shit has to be gone from the sport. But we come from a society that's just stupid as hell. But that's all I got.
Great point, man. I mean, I personally think as far as that fighters should be more influenced on Floyd's discipline and craft, as far as, his lifestyle of training. Yeah, they should be more, influenced by his training and how much he dedicated himself to the craft rather than just, I got to stay undefeated. I got to stay undefeated, you know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. Stormy B, what do you think of that? Do you think that fighters today are too how can you say, like, obsessed with not losing their O?
I think they're too obsessed with not knowing what's important. And when you have people who do not represent the dignity of the sport, and they're not, the profile and light isn't shone on them, so you could be misguided by the others who do get that shine, who do get that publicity and everything to help sustain or to continue to keep people asleep on the lack of what their value may be. You remember when Floyd Mayweather was doing things like burning money and throwing money at the camera. He's walking around with cases of money and people carrying loads of money with him. He says he doesn't, own credit cards and doesn't, do, the regular things like, banking like the average person or whatever. But let me tell you something. If you don't know how to write checks and balance a checkbook, if you don't know how to count and read and things like that, then your value is very shallow, okay? Because these are things that you need to do in society. Burning cash isn't the smartest thing in the world, is it? However, every chance they got, they would show you him doing those things. Now, they've never shown you guys who are invested like Larry Holmes, who pretty much owns the town of Eastern Pennsylvania where he's from. He has his own courthouse. He owns property and real estate all over the place. Things that have kept him on a great standard of living and quality of life for generations to come because he was well invested. They don't tell you about those people. They don't put the microphone in front of them or show you how they're doing it, do they? Because they want to keep you asleep. Okay? So when you see guys today and they think about their O or they think about the bag, okay, but who's going to remember them a decade from now when they're retired? Hardly anybody. Only thing people will refer back to them is that, oh, they never fought the best and they never did it, but they sure were some idiots, right? The way they behaved and carried on. And that's what they'll be remembered for. Okay?
Yep.
Nobody's going to be talking about them for the things that you would like someone to talk about you for. See, being well invested, being well read, being well represented for family and generational wealth would be great. Look at Floyd, made a lot of money, right? But he got family problems. Huh? His children need tending to. He was never there for them. And that's going to be a problem. And money won't solve that. Okay? So when you look at what a person's ethics are and you find out exactly the value of what they really represent, it will all come out, as they say, in the wash. It will. So, no, a lot of these guys, they're concerned with what's not essential. Their focus is misdirected. And they need to be on track. That's why half of these guys that are around today, when they're done, you won't even be thinking about them anymore. And you hear me use the word and term legacy when it applies to boxing. There's not going to be very much for them in that as well. You'll just be able to look them up on BoxRec and say, oh, his record was whatever and what, but he never fought these guys out of that era. They were right there with him. That's what you'll see.
Yeah.
But just imagine, like I said, when you take someone like Marvin Hagler, I mentioned him earlier, he's well-to-do. He left the U.S. shores to have a better quality of life for himself. That might not be the answer for everybody, but that was the answer for him. And you just heard me mention Larry Holmes. Okay. Kurt has mentioned people like Ray Leonard and Ali who can live off their names for the rest of their lives because of what they did as men in the sport that they participated in, which is boxing, which is what we're talking about. But everyone won't be able to live like that. But there are some others that you can take heed to and note their value, and you can live off of that philosophy. But some of these guys today, they don't even know the sport prior to themselves arriving on the scene. So how will they be able to take up that mantra? They've been watching Floyd Mayweather, but like I said, that's not the best example.
Man, that's
so, that's what I have to say.
Definitely, man. Definitely, man. We're all learning. Take notes, everybody. Take notes from the panel, the OGs in the building. Definitely, man. And we apply this to life. I think that, personally, I think that also the same that, boxers should have their focus on more important things, and they'll leave legacy. Exactly what you said. They'll leave a legacy behind rather than just for now being entertained for the moment and being forgotten tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Just to close this part off, and I want to get to another bullet point, another topic actually. Kurtis, what do you think? What do you think a fighter should be focused on in this day and age? A fighter in this day and age, what should he or she be focused on right now?
Well, a fighter, I like to see fighters win, and I'm not talking about in the ring. I'm talking about out the ring. I done seen and heard about many fighters going broke after a lengthy career. You look at Wilfredo Benitez, who gave his life for boxing, and he has health problems. I want to see a fighter healthy. I want to see him prosper financially so he can support his family. Like Miguel Cotto, he owned gas stations. He did well with himself. He could support his family. He's a family man. I love those documentaries where his family is around and you can tell he's their family is close knit. Regardless of him and his wife is together now. And I like to see fighters who can enjoy the fruits of their labor. I don't like to see fighters like Jimmy Bivens, searching through garbage cans, laying in his own feces in his sister's attic. That's a true story. Or Jerry Quarry, having the mind of a 5-year-old who didn't have a penny to his name. You hear about horror stories like that. It's not what the fighters get. They get the money, but what they do the money, they want to invest it properly. If they invest it, it's some harebrained scheme that's not going to work. I just want to see the fighter have some kind of education reform, and when it comes to their finances, they don't have to, get a degree from Yale or Princeton, but just be smart with their money, and excuse me, and live happy and live off the fruits of your labor. Like Stormy said, Marvin Hagler is making terrible movies in Italy, but he's getting paid for it. He's healthy. He can talk. He can walk. He's not often seen. Sugar Ray Leonard is another one who's doing well. He looks good. He's still working out. He jumps rope, and Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. He commentates. He looks well. He's doing well. He talks fluently. I like to see that. I like to see that from all fighters who given us so many thrills live like that. I don't like to see people like Riddick Bowe and Tommy Hearns and Mildred Taylor who can't even, they gotta slur their words and still have to work, just to make ends meet. I don't like to see that. They didn't do well with their money. And like Stormy said, Larry Holmes, he did well with his money. He owns a real estate and many other things. So that's what I want with the fighters. You're going to make money. I look at the Charlos. They have this thing on YouTube called Walking with the Lions. It's like a documentary about their personal lives. Yeah, they got these big houses. Now that's Texas. It ain't New York and New Jersey and DC where it's really expensive. And these fancy cars. I just want them to do well. Now, for what I'm hearing, Al Heyman has an investment team where he helps fighters invest their money. Danny Garcia does well with his money. I remember his father said he has over $10 million in the bank, and he's getting the Spence fight, and he'll be making more. So I like to see that from fighters. It's not the question of they making money, it's what you do after the money. Even you're making 600,000-700,000, and it depends on your spending habits. I just want fighters to, prosper, and be more smart about their finances.
Oh, Al Heyman has a team of financial advisors or something?
Yeah, and it help fighters invest their money.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That is awesome. Awesome. To close this part, Reggie Owens, what do you think about that? What do you think fighters should be more focused on, like what Kurtis and Stormy is talking about?
I think they need to be focused on how to sustain their wealth, sustain what they have earned, having an understanding of how to live off their money, not making sure they're living above their means. And that's kind of the thing that always happens when a fighter gets that first big check. And that's kind of the bout of how a person's supposed to live. A lot of them, they go out and buy the big mansion, expecting these checks to constantly rolling in, not looking for the future. A fighter that doesn't look towards into the future is a fighter that ends up back on the streets, having to go out and working a 9-to-5, wasting away this money. Fighters really have to look at their future and have to be able to control who's around them, because some fighters get caught up in thinking they're the breadwinners for the family. Now you have family members that leech up off. You have to be in control, a person that's willing to say no. Like I remember seeing, this is the one that always draws into my mind with celebrities who come from nothing and end up in wealth, is listening to Oprah speaking about Fantasia. And she even spoke on it with Tony Braxton. They get the money, buying unnecessary items, high-end purchases. With their expectation, their mind kind of starts to program into a setting where they can live this new lifestyle, have these high monthly expenses because they think the money is going to constantly roll in. You have family members that are always there. You feel the need that you have to go out and buy them homes, buy them high-end cars. But the thing is, you have to be able to say no. And for a lot of them, it's hard. You watch the damn dude out of Alabama who played for the, I think he was playing for the Raiders. Damn, what was his name? Richardson. I forgot his name. Whatever, Richardson, won the Heisman. The thing that ruined his career was family members leeching off of him. Sometimes you got to control the people around you. You're not a goddamn bank. You're not an ATM teller for a lot of people. And that's what some fighters outside of mismanaging their own money is managing their damn families. And the need for their families to leech up off them. You have to be able to, first of all, tell people no. You may end up having to cut off a lot of people, but also watching your purchases. People, even like Floyd Mayweather, you shouldn't be out there buying jets, because jets, and I'm an aviation nut, jets are a high-end price tag. You must do everything to make sure these planes are airworthy. You got a certain time in the life of a plane where you got to do C checks, where they strip the damn plane down. And those are very expensive. It's a lot of cost that goes in with purchases like that. Plus the high-end vehicles. There's nothing necessary about that. They're not items that appreciate, they depreciate. You ain't going to get value off of that. Maybe you get some off the cars based on him driving, and maybe there's kind of an industry created for people wanting to buy things off of people like that. And maybe he can have where items appreciate for him owning it, who knows? But a lot of stuff is unnecessary. I think investing the money properly, looking for the long-term benefits of things and being able to pass things down. So that way, when they have those kids don't have to have it as hard as they may have had coming up. Because the life of a boxer this is the hardest way to earn money. And that's why I appreciate boxers. I can't knock nothing that they do, but the most important factor is going in there every day you go to work. What's the point you working your 9-to-5, what is 40 hours a week, busting your ass, stressing yourself out? The minute you get a check, you're blowing it on stupid stuff. What's the point of that? I mean, try to live a minimalist life. Minimize what's unnecessary to you. Buy a few fly items, few fly clothes, a car that's necessary for you, a nice end car. Other than that, put the money away, save it. Rainy days come, just like right now. Every single fighter out there is everybody is living in rainy times. Now, what have you done with your money? Have you put it away? Have you saved it? Have you been educated on it? Me, I can lose my job now. I'm safe. But that's the thing, just securing money. But Floyd, and that's the other thing people have to factor in this game. These fighters are not Floyd. Floyd has secured a huge sum of money. Now, other fools wanting to get within the realm of wanting to act like Floyd, but you're not. The same thing was going down with Michael Jordan. You have players wanting to emulate what Michael Jordan was able to do with money, but you're not on the same bracket. And that's what people have to understand. And nothing's cool about the flossing of shit. But that's all I got.
Man, definitely. And this is let's go to the chat. Their comments and concerning this. I'm amazed at how many of these top fighters don't have a chef or a nutritionist. Definitely, man, definitely. And down here we got Jay Dixon saying further, or actually Reggie Owens responds, "Yeah, it's crazy, bro." And then he continues saying, "Excuse me." It says, "Cheating themselves, in my opinion, bro. I can't understand it when you have 100K chain on." Exactly, man. That's just ridiculous right there. I mean, in my opinion, but Floyd would make it rain money at strip joints. Yes, man. Tone Brown, salute. Thanks so much for tuning in, Tone Brown. Remember to subscribe to my channel, share, like, right? Also to Reggie Owens. Hey, real quick, Reggie Owens. So you're going to be continuing your first channel because it looks like they're not doing anything. Thankfully, it looks like you're not getting the strike or what have you and having problems there. You're going to continue with the original channel, Reggie?
Yeah, they ended up dropping my the 2 strikes I had. So yeah, I'm running both of them. I'm still doing stuff off that new channel as well because I want to grow that one. So the same content I drop on this main one, I do it on the other one as well.
Perfect. Okay. So everybody in the chat, or if anybody's not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to Box Conversation with Reggie Owens, his original one. You see his icon right there. It's orange, and his number 2 Box Conversations with Reggie Owens 2. It's a white. It's the same icon there, a thumbnail, but it's white in the background. So go ahead and subscribe to both. Go subscribe to Stormy B. And if in the future Kurtis Anderson thinks about popping something also on the channel, go ahead and subscribe to Kurtis Anderson. And those in the chat, Lawrence Williams, also thank you so much for tuning in. Also, man, Gil Coles. Also, man, I appreciate all you guys. Brusco says most fighters end up broke. Sad, but we only hear about the ones who left with cash. Yeah, exactly, man. Most don't. Yes. Lawrence Williams, salute. Thanks so much for tuning in, bro. Real quick, I want to go to there's something also interesting that D Hodges says Mike Tyson on that list. Yeah, definitely, man. Something interesting that Lawrence Williams said about what we're talking about too, said Tim Bradley too. He hired his wife as a manager and she negotiated the last 5 fights of his career, which included 2 Pacquiao fights and the Marquez fight. They kept all that money in-house. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I didn't know that at all. Brusco says here, they say Marciano knew where every one of his nickels went. Wow. D. Hodges goes on to say the fighters that take care of all their friends, never do well. Yeah, man. Yeah. Khabib's hat. Okay. Salute. Thank you for joining. Okay. Floyd is not humble. Right. And then Reggie Owens says, and I never understood spending that much on Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. So to kind of go towards the end here of the session of this series, I want to just give a little extra question here. Let's start with Kurtis. All right. Because we all know the fights that are coming. All right. These fights that are coming on the way. I mean, stacked cards, interesting bouts. And let me just share the screen with y'all. I want to show you guys. All right, hold on. So we're going to start with Kurtis on this one, okay? So, Kurtis, what do you think of... Wait a second here. Let me project it. What do you think of this? And you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I project it. Bam. What do you think of this fight? You got it there, Kurtis?
Who is that?
It's Jermall Charlo versus Sergey Derevyanchenko.
Okay, I couldn't really see it that well.
It's all right.
That's a great fight right there. That's a potential upset. If Charlo don't bring his A game and he fought like he did against Brandon Adams, he's going to lose because I can see him getting out hustled against Derevyanchenko. Now, if Charlo brings his A game, because Charlo is a fantastic fighter, both of the Charlos are, then he'll beat Derevyanchenko. This is, to me, if I was Charlo, I would be up for this fight because this is his coming out party. You know, he fought Dennis Hogan and Brandon Adams. You know, he's fighting people like that. You know, Derevchenko would be a nice scout for his resume, especially if he knocks him out. You know, because Derevchenko and Triple G, and he had a hard fight with him. You know, Triple G, the Derevchenko is not a pushover. So if I was Charlo, I'll be up for this fight because people always saying his competition, is not what it should be. You know, he's a terrific fighter, shotgun jab, a sneaky uppercut, good right hand, left hand. You know, he has it all. He's in great shape. He has a good chin. He showed that against Karabov. So I like Charlo, but I wouldn't be shocked if Derevchenko wins. But Charlo has to be sharp. And even the undercard, his brother Jamel Charlo versus Jason Rosario, who reminds me so much of Murky Sosa. That's going to be a knockout, drag out, Pier 6 brawl. So that fight is going to be on pay-per-view, the card. So those are two good fights, so that's what I want. I want to see the best fights, but Charlo and Derevchenko is a really, really good fight, man. I can't wait for that one. I believe it was September 26th, correct?
Yeah, I think it is September 26th. I don't remember exactly the date, but I think it is. Uh-huh. And what do you think, Reggie Owens? What do you think about that fight?
That's going to be a tough. There ain't no walk-through fight for Charlo. Like Kurt said, he got to be on his A game in this fight. This dude, Derevchenko, man, gives everyone – I didn't see him fight a tough-ass fight. He's no pushover. I don't think Charlo's going to knock the guy out. Charlo's going to have to come out on his A game. Me, I'm not a person that's big on knockouts anyway. I like to see people get in there, strategize, fight, and break people down. That's what Charlo's going to have to do. Maintain his fight, break this guy down, keep things safe, not get hit with unnecessary punches. And Korobov, he's getting hit with a lot of unnecessary punches, getting hit with some heavy punches. Derevchenko has a slick style. He finds ways of getting punches in there, but Charlo has a pretty good chin. It's going to be a battle to win in these rounds. Derevchenko comes out to fight. Don't see this dude laxing at all. I think it's going to be a big fight. And that's what I like to see, regardless of who I favor. I'm not like a lot of other people in boxing. I ain't no fucking fanboy when it comes to boxing. If I like somebody and I see someone as a threat to him, I'm going to keep it real as a threat. This guy is a threat to Charlo. I want to see Charlo have to go through digging deep, strategizing, staying locked in and engaged, and not fall into Derevchenko, pull him into a fight. And that's the thing I see with the Charlo. It's easy to pull them out of a fight, pull them into a different game plan, and he has to stay keyed on what he needs to do against Derevchenko. Derevchenko's going to bring the best out of Charlo, and this is where Charlo gets to shine in this fight. So he's going to face adversity in this fight, and that's what should be expected in these high caliber fights. Is you want to see both fighters going in here in the best of health, have the best training camps of their lives, and they leave it all inside that ring and battle that shit out like some real warriors, some World War III shit inside that ring. But I favor Charlo, but to me it's still it's undecided fight. I'm just going for Charlo, but I look at it as a 50-50 fight, and that's the way boxing should fucking look like. But that's all I got.
Yeah, interesting matchup, definitely. I'm the same. I'm going for Charlo, but I mean, Chenko is definitely not a pushover. It's going to be a great fight. What do you got on this, Stormy B? What can you say about that fight?
It's a good fight, like everyone said. It's the type of fight that should be happening. We need more of these type of fights. It's a shame that, to be perfectly honest, Derevchenko is being brought into certain fights like an opponent when he has actually been in the seat, just like some of the other champions for named fighters to face. If he beats Charlo, it's not an upset. He's on that level where he should be fighting guys like this, along with that other redhead cheetah, as he's been called out there, Canelo, who's running from all of these guys. You know what I mean? So he needs to be in there in the mix with this, but glad to get this fight because the winner of this fight will be able to have some stock in their position in the sport. And the fight with the smaller Charlo is also a very good fight. Rosario is not a pushover, and he better be ready because Rosario is a strong fighter. So that means that early on, his strength will allow him to be able to pull through some of the, let's just say that Jermell, he kind of likes, he likes to try to power punch and everything, but he's not his brother. He has to use his boxing ability, and he can run into the same problems that J-Rock ran into if he's not careful. So quality fights, two brothers, they're on the same card again. We were saying that we like to see these guys fighting on different cards, but we're glad to get the fight, glad to see what's going to happen and what it will set up for the winners of these two matches in their next fights. Because I believe once you start fighting fights like this, you don't go back to trying to dig up opponents and everything. Like a year ago when we were watching Triple G and Jermell were vying for the services for Brandon Adams instead of fighting each other. It was freaking ridiculous. You both are looking for a date, right? And you both were going after that man when you should have been going after one another. Because had that taken place, then this fight would have even greater meaning, because that means that the winner of that fight would have fought Deverenchenko, and it turned out to be Triple G, even though that's who he fought. It was a close fight. Some people felt like Triple G should not have got the victory. So, I mean, just look at it for what it is. Quality against quality, you can't argue when there's an outcome one way or the other, because the guys face each other. But when they run away, as we've seen so many of them do, it makes you lose respect for who they are in the sport and what they represent in the sport, especially when you've seen it done so much better in the past. So that's what I have to offer on that.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I mean, highly anticipated fight. I mean, I can't wait till it comes around. And that card in general, man, like you said, bro, Mel Charlo also versus Rosario. It's going to be great, man. I can't wait, and let's get to the chat real quick before we close off here. We got really quick. Where is that? Bruce goes, like I said, I'm not sure, Kurtis's intentions in that area, but Bruce goes, ask Kurt, what's your channel name? Can you give that channel name, Kurt?
Well, I don't have a channel. You can see me through Stormy B-Man's channel, which is called The Three Wise Men in Boxing, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We on a little hiatus, but we're going to do a show this coming Thursday. So tune in. We talk about, old fighters, classic fights, and, the turn of the century. We go deep into boxing. So every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Three Wise Men in Boxing. You have to go through Stormy B-Man Boxing. You can find me on that boxing show.
Definitely, man. Amazing show. Go check that out. Like I said, I repeat, if anybody's not subscribed to Stormy B-Man, go subscribe, because Kurtis goes on there. Reggie goes on there too from time to time. I mean, great content over there, man. Great content. Khabib's hat. A nice name on Charles. Definitely, man. Definitely. Yeah. Chenko, man. Real quick, before something came to mind. A name was mentioned. I think Kurtis mentioned. I don't remember. Or Reggie. Korobov, when Jamal fought Korobov. What happened to Korobov? Because afterwards, after that Charlo fight, I remember he fought Chris Eubank Jr., if I'm not mistaken. And he was as he did with Charlo, he was doing great against Chris Eubank Jr., man. Great. First couple rounds. And what happened was that Korobov, I think his shoulder went out of his socket, man. It got dislocated around round 3, very early in the fight. And even the commentators were like, man, how upsetting, because Korobov was doing great. Just like he was doing against Charlo, he was doing against Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. was having a hard time against Korobov. Korobov looks like some great competition. Does anybody know whatever happened to him?
Well, I haven't heard anything. He's been around a while. Those Eastern European fighters like Triple G and Karlbov and Deverenchenko and Dmitry Pirog, they're cut from the same cloth, man. Karlbov is a very good fighter, man, but I haven't seen him since the Eubank fight, So I don't really know what's going on with Carabal's career with the injury.
Yeah, me neither, man. And that name came out, and I was like, Korbob, because I remember, I mean, great, man, great fighter, and unfortunate. And I was, it was kind of sad to see how his shoulder got dislocated, and they just stopped the fight, man. I was like, man, and he was doing so great against Eubank Jr., man. So yeah, man. Now let's go back to the chat real quick. That's going to be a great fight. Yeah, definitely. Charlo versus Chenko, man. Definitely. Charlo pretty slick. Yeah, man. So we have here Khabib's hat continues saying Charlo uses the uppercut inside. Most modern fighters don't. It's nice to see. Yeah, man, I definitely agree, man. Porky's, thank you so much, Porky's Corner, for tuning in. Thanks so much. Remember to subscribe, man. Hit the notification bell, man. Thanks so much. Porky's Corner says, Charlo on points for me. Yeah, it can be, man. Definitely. I'm not sure if there'll be a knockout. Maybe there will be. Maybe there won't be. Who knows, right? But it's going to be a great fight, man, for sure. Ogden says, continue saying, and he hits hard. Yeah, man, definitely. Charlo for sure. Yeah, man. Charlo's a cannon, man. He punches hard, man. So we're going to continue down here. Lawrence Williams says something. I wonder how much Chenko have left. I don't know, man. That's a good question. Very good question. I thought he beat Triple G, but 2, a lot of punishment. Yeah, definitely. And he had
Rene,
3. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. And
go ahead.
Charlo versus Derevchenko. Charlo's jab is underutilized. He should use his jab more. He will give Derevchenko problems because he'll let Derevchenko, because of his style, will run into the jab of Charlo. The jab is the key. If Charlo doesn't use his jab, then it's going to be a really tough fight.
Oh, he definitely does have to use his jab. Definitely, man. Have to be more active on that, man, to sway away Chenko, man, in his game plan. Definitely. So he continues saying here, and he had 3 tough fights in a row. Jacobs, Cool K, and yeah, man. So I mean, Chenko, I definitely respect him, man. Definitely. Khabib's hat continues saying, no one wants a part of the Charlos. Caleb, Plant, Spence, Bud, Benavidez, to say a few. Right. Okay. All right. And then Ogden says, these fighters are hungry and ready to fight. Yeah, man, I love it. Triple G and Canelo avoided Charlo. Yeah, as well as Jacobs. Yeah, man, I mean, a lot of people say that, man, definitely. Yeah, Triple G, yeah, these guys avoided Charlo. And yeah, man, Khabib's hat, can you say Triple G avoided everyone? All right. Bruce Go says, I'm always there. Salute. Yeah, thank you, man. Drift King, salute. Thanks so much for tuning in, man. I don't think I've seen you before here. Korbob was whooping Andy Lee until he got clipped. Yeah, right. Drift King, thanks so much, man. For not subscribed to anybody here, man, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and subscribe to Stormy B, Reggie Owens, Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens. Go subscribe to Lawrence Williams. He has content. And Ogden has a great gaming content too, man. Y'all like games? Go check that out, man. Awesome channel, man. Great stuff he has there. J.A. Dixon. All the people who came in, I appreciate everyone, man. Kenneth Johnson, all you guys, Hamza S., everybody who tuned into this show. I appreciate you all. Kurtis Anderson, any last words before we leave, bro?
Oh, man, thank you, man. A great boxing topic. Once again, this part 5. This is the norm, man. Salute to the panel, Reggie Owens and Stormy B, man. And you got a great channel, man. Salute to the chat. We'll have part 6. So
definitely,
I just want to say, this is one of the best boxing channels on YouTube, man. Even though I took a step back from YouTube, you see I'm still on this channel. So, whenever you want me to support, I'll be there. So, don't forget about the fights tonight on Channel 5 at 8 o'clock. But, great show, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. I'm humbled, man. I'm humbled you saying that. One of the best boxing channel. I appreciate you, man. I really, really appreciate you. And you guys are part of all this, man. It's all about you guys. You know what I'm saying? It's all about you guys. It's all about the community. We're one community, for the love of the sport of boxing. Boxing Conversations, Reggie Owens. Any last words, bro?
Oh, yes, indeed, man. Thanks for bringing me on once again, man. It was a great discussion, man. And once again, like Kurt said, you got a great channel. Keep doing what you do. Don't change nothing about what you do, the way you roll it out. Great shit. Look forward to continuously doing these on the weekends. Like being on here with the OGs as well. And subscribe to the OGs channel as well. Stormy B, man. Y'all check them out. But that's all I got.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you all, man. I appreciate you. It's all about being original. You guys also have amazing content, man. Definitely. Like I repeat to the comment chat, everybody in the chat, everybody who's tuning in, go subscribe to the brothers here. Also, Reggie, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, Stormy B, man. Go subscribe, man. Amazing content as well. Stormy B, any last words?
Once again, thank you for having me here on your great channel. As the two gentlemen have already said, you're doing great things here. I like your talking points. I like where your head is when when it comes down to covering this sport that we all hold near and dear to our hearts. We love it. And I enjoy this series. You bring up great points, great talking points, and you give people a chance to listen to a side of boxing that I think needs to be pushed more, because you get to the meat and the potatoes of the sport, which is valuable. For Kurt on here, I've worked with Kurt for a little bit and appreciate what he has to bring. And brother Reggie Owens, the young OG, you know, what he's doing is some excellent work. And now you, Rene Box Young, you and Reggie, you guys, you know, are bringing that heat the way you do. And as Reggie said, don't stop. Just do what you're doing and keep on. You know, damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead, as Bruce Lee once said. You know, this is what you have to do. And when you stick to it, you become great at what you do. And that's what we need. You know, that's what we need here. And your platform is a wonderful platform for people to come and hear sincere, earnest boxing talk. So thanks again for having me on your platform and another wonderful show. Appreciate you.
Definitely, man. You guys are all definitely encouraging. And like I said, everybody who's tuning in and who will tune in afterwards, you know, go ahead and share this. I mean, got some great, you know, family here who are on the panel, and they also got their amazing content. Go subscribe. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And just if you guys can stay, Kurtis, Reggie, and Stormy, just a couple minutes, remember, after we close this, just a couple minutes, right? Thank you guys, everybody. And remind me for the next show to bring enough donuts for everybody. I'm going to bring some more donuts. More virtual donuts up in here, man. So definitely, man. So I thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in. Salute from the South, Rene Box Young, closing another session, part 5 of Boxing Then and Now with the brothers, Kurtis Anderson, Reggie Owens, and Stormy B. Thank everybody in the chat once again. Peace out, fam. Stay safe. Definitely. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.